Okay, so any further questions on my experience? Something you want to talk about?
No, absolutely fine. Probably if you could share your LinkedIn profile, probably that also helped me. Maybe towards the end of today's session.
Sure, definitely. I'll send you a request on LinkedIn.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So this is what I have received as the training curriculum or training topics. So I'll be following this. You start with introduction to ITSI, then you go into class tables, notable events, deep dives, installing ITSIs, designing services, data audit and base searches, implementing services, threshold and time policies, entities, multi-KPI searches, aggregation policies, anomaly, access control, and troubleshooting. So I'll be including all the topics that we have here, but the order might not be same as here because some topics need to be covered together or before other thing comes in.
Yeah, yeah, that I can understand very well.
Yeah, so I'll cover all the topics that you have here and whatever is available in ITSI as that you have to configure during a project. So
Architect course.
yeah, okay, let's go to architecture. Let's start. I think we have already spent
Yeah,
half an hour solving issues discussing. Okay, so I'll follow the agenda and the topics from the PDF that was shared for the course, and I'll rearrange them whenever necessary. And today I want to start with basic introduction to ITSI, what kind of things you have in ITSI, why do you need ITSI, and how to approach ITSI. Okay, so simple thing, yeah. So it's a simple thing how ITSI comes into place or how we are trying to change the approach, thinking, and the process as well. It is not only about putting ITSI, it is more about changing even the processes around how things work in IT operations. And we know the traditional IT, we all had traditional IT applications and how they work. Now we are trying to move into more of a data-based approach using Splunk. Everything in Splunk talk about is data, and data. And the approaches around it is also changing. So how this works is, or how the old way that we had here was something like this. Let me play mode. Yeah. So something like this, you have all these kind of monitoring there. It still exists and it will exist. You have monitoring for networks, you have monitoring for storage, you have monitoring for server, you have monitoring for business and application as well as user experience. And you're talking about technologies and things that you need to know about. So this is the layers, these are the different layers for which you will need to have some experience, may not, that to understand how does these layers work on at least high level, what is important for these layers, and how do they work together, and what is these layers about. So go through the technologies that are being used at these layers. So when you're talking to a storage guy, you know what is storage, how do you measure performance, what is important for us to as a team. As right now we all know, we have monitoring tools for each of this layer. And when I was doing it last time, you talk to each person and each person is very satisfied with whatever monitoring they have. They have component monitoring, they have performance monitoring on it, but there's no integration with these. Most of them, what they have is the data from their application is being sent to some kind of MOM or tool from any company where they collect all these events together, event monitoring tool, and they don't talk to each other. They just have some kind of integration with either email ticketing systems or some kind of MOM kind of a tool. And data stays there. It's not stored long enough for a lot of time. It's stored for a day or a week or a month if they need, but it's not really summarized properly. It's not really used properly, and it's lost somewhere. And whenever there's a problem, when something happens, each of them, they go to their specific tools, and it takes a lot of time to find the root cause because each of them have their performance tool which says I am okay, and maybe at times it is okay, but putting these pieces together, it's not okay, it doesn't looks like okay. And since they do not know about each other, it's difficult to say what is okay and what is not okay. And to get this view, which nowadays a lot of business people are looking forward to, this end-to-end monitoring, this end-to-end view, AI ops, this is challenging, and it's not possible to do it with whatever we have right now, both on the infra application as well as business layer. I have not shown business layer here, but that is also a very important layer on top of this application layer. And yeah, so time and agility is a problem. So what Splunk now says or advises it, you bring in SMEs from all of these layers on the left-hand side for each technology and each area, and you try to use Splunk ITSI as a repository to store all of this data. You bring in all performance matrices from network, storage, server as infrastructure, APM tools as application, and then business, you'll have to maybe use some kind of a tool that is being used for business monitoring, bring data from there, the summarized data, or form these dashboards on data within Splunk. Depends on how the company is going around or how the processes in the company is around, but you have to bring all of this together into ITSI and Splunk as in general. As you know, there's no ITSI without Splunk. Store this data, and then based on this data, you do a lot of things on top of ITSI to bring business perspective into it, not just IT perspective. And end of the day, making Splunk as AI ops tools or centralized tool for end-to-end monitoring, things become a little bit simple because everybody's coming to the same frame to look at what is going on. So there's no different dashboard for network, there's no dashboard for business, there's no dashboard for application. You bring everything together, and then they drill down into each stream. And yeah, so less people, less resources, and you become more collaborative. So this is the approach that we are trying to go towards using ITSI and bringing. So each of these could be one team on the left-hand side, or it could be multiple teams. So your job is normally to sit across a board of all of these teams together, or I prefer going individual to each team and talk to them, how do they work, how the process is around, and then bring their data into Splunk. There's a lot of convincing, talking, and negotiation for this, but yeah, I think it's a part of the job. Okay, so what is ITSI? It's basically something that adds business context to whatever you have on the data. Data doesn't talk about business, but when you add something which gives business on top of it, that's what is enabled by ITSI. And it helps you improve your service operations a lot, how we'll see in future slides. And then last but not the least is database decision making, where what is happening is when you provide all these KPIs and health on a screen, and it is not showable or can be put on dashboards and screens which the senior management can see. And then when senior management can see that this particular thing is causing so many issues over the time, then they're able to make better decisions and have something transparency between the business team as well as the technical team. So it helps a lot in decision making at the management level, as well as sometimes at the service desk management level as well, that they know where to focus rather than calling everybody else. So it's an important part here. So as I was saying earlier, we don't have to monitor everything in Splunk. You just have to bring data for this in Splunk. So if you have a network monitoring tools like SolarWinds or Nagios or Palo Alto or any other network, monitor it there. Never try to bring in monitoring of those components into Splunk. Just bring in the data, and bring in the data that is summarized and useful for your end-to-end monitoring. Else, Splunk licenses are expensive, and we can't bring in all data into the single environment. Same goes for APM. You can do a lot of APM with Splunk, but try not to go there. Try to deploy whatever APM the company is deploying, wherever it is deploying. Just bring in the key matrices that are important for your end-to-end monitoring or business or technology, and bring it in. Similarly, for all domain tools, some of them, yes, maybe the operating system tools can go away, but not all the other tools. So keep the domain tools, let the domain people use those tools when they are using it. Just bring in the data that is required for most of the things. Some of the things, yes, you can consolidate, as a lot of people are trying to do that, especially the event management and operations here and infra management. But others, keep what is there and just bring in what is important for you end-to-end monitoring. This makes the process of doing things or bringing end-to-end faster as well, rather than starting to do everything. So yeah, so this slide is again about how ITSI is helping your IT operations. So there are 4 areas that I'll bring up into future as well. Those areas are basically your service analytics, event analytics, predictive monitoring or predictive analytics, as well as infra monitoring. So these 4 areas map to this diagram as well, where I'm simplifying the service operations. So end of the day, I am not using those static thresholds anymore, which we all defined till now. And we try to use machine learning to look at the behavior of things and then create alerts and things based on that, and bring in only the events that are actually, it's called episodes in terms of Splunk. So instead of showing events, we show episodes, and those episodes are created based on different kind of events from different systems, and you apply the business context to it and apply service context to it, so that you are working on the actual incident which is important, which is impacting business, and you can take particular action based on it. Actions are available in ITSI and Splunk, but you might have to integrate with some other tools like RicherOps, Resolve, or Phantom, or other tools to bring in the actions into the context. But some simple actions, they definitely can be taken using ITSI. And slowly it's redefining, because now when being an IT person, you talk to business and talk to about KPIs and all. So you are not purely the backend team. You are not no more purely the person sitting in the background say, I only work for IT, I only work on systems. So you are more participating in the business and communicating with them and giving them the service insights, giving them the business KPIs. So it's redefining your role as an IT person and being more open, transparent to the business and understand what they are doing. And yeah, end of the day, you are unifying a lot of silos across your environment. It's good, it's bad. Some people are happy, some people are not happy. But yeah, end of the day, you are unifying everything together into one platform of Splunk as AIOps and ITSI being the product. So technically, now coming to the technical part, what is it doing? What is it bringing to the table to do what we are talking about that it is doing? So, and there are questions sometimes, can we do this without ITSI? So yes, it provides you capabilities. You can do it without ITSI as well, but it might take much longer and much more efforts and your skills on SPL to do that. So I will talk about Splunk here. I hope you know that. Talking about first thing is the search-based KPIs. So the most strong thing about KPI is any search that you have in your Splunk can be changed into KPI. And you don't have to create them again and again, those complex searches for trending and all. So you just write one search, you convert into base search if it is possible. And with those minimal SPL coding to identify those KPIs, you're able to form those KPIs and replicate them around or across services. This thing has become very easy using ITSI. So if you deploy 10 services, it's easy to do because you do it one time, you just replicate it to others. You can't do that very easily for that in normal dashboards or in Splunk Enterprise. And second thing is trending. So I've seen some use cases where people are trending the data across. I want to see what is my number of requests today, what was it yesterday, what was it last week, compare all 3 of them and then give me a result, or trend them across 1 month or longer. So these kind of things, visualization and searches have to be built in, and they are complex searches, not very simple searches. But if you do that same thing in ITSI, it's very simple. It does it automatically for you. So you don't have to really build the trending visualizations or trending dashboards or trending searches. Third thing is multi-KPI alerts. So what multi-KPI alert is, you want a ticket or an episode only when multiple things are happening together. One example is, I want a ticket for a server when you have high CPU, high memory, and low disk space. So you don't want 3 tickets, you want 1 ticket for that. And you only want a ticket, or this server is not okay only when all these things be breached together. Of course, you can do that in Splunk again, but you'll have to form a complex search to measure storage, network, or storage, memory, and CPU together, and then create 1 ticket based on it. But in ITSI, it's just click and click and click, and you can do that. So it's easier to do all these things in ITSI with clicks, with the minimum Splunk knowledge, Splunk SPL knowledge and coding. Then second is on top of KPIs, your service modeling. So as you've already built services, you can do that again in Splunk, but this provides you a model or a structure whereby clicking around you can create different kind of services across your technology, application, and business. You can put the weights and prioritize them that you can do that otherwise as well, but this prioritizing of service, which service is more important. So if I have a whole big service or business process, I need to tell which service is critical, so that when the health of my business process goes down, I know which service has to be critical or is defined by that. You have to work over it with people, but it's easy to do in the system and it's easily customizable. So if tomorrow someone says, oh, this service has become less important now, you just turn the slider down and you're good with it. So the whole thing is easily available for all kind of people to see in different kind of visualizations, and it brings a lot of context to investigations as well. So if my business service is going down, I know exactly which component or which application or which infra technology is causing it. May not be directly, but looking in the swim lanes, you can easily identify it. And last but not least is your machine learning, which there are, 3 parts of machine learning in Splunk. One is this adaptive thresholding or dynamic thresholding and anomaly detection. The second part is event analytics, in which you can do event analytics based on natural language processing, NLP. And third is predictive, so where you can predict the health of your services proactively around 30 minutes or so earlier. So all these things, no need of writing any advanced Splunk, click and configure, and even most of them, you can upload a CSV file and build these automatically. So it kind of take less time to bring value to your services and businesses as compared to what you do with Splunk Enterprise. Okay, any questions so far?
No, Prachi.
No? Okay. So yeah, so going to the base of what we can do with ITSI, what kind of use cases I am deploying with ITSI or you can deploy with ITSI are 4 clear use cases. You have to choose which stream you have to start from and which direction you have to go. So the purpose clearly, if somebody asks in one word or one sentence, is with ITSI, you are connecting your business and technology together in one place. So there's no more business and technology, it is service monitoring. And the first stream, so these are the streams in which you work. So first your stream is service insights, that we talk about a lot, that you have to build the services, KPIs and health, which helps you to reduce the incident and MTR. Second stream, which has come nowadays, is event analytics. So those people don't use service as much. They just bring in events from different monitoring systems together into the episode review and enable the event analytics for the service desks and different teams. So this stream can run in parallel with service insights and brings a lot of value to reduce the event storms and a lot of event related issues. Third is predictive analytics, where you can predict the outage of the service before it actually happens. But this predictive analytics is linked to the service insights. So first you have to do service insights, then only you can do predictive analytics in the easier way. There are other ways, but yeah, the easier way is service insights and then predictive analytics. Event analytics runs in parallel. It will link together, but yeah, it can run in parallel as well for service desk kind of teams. The last is infra monitoring. This was not there earlier, but I think last year or recently, if you know, Splunk app for infrastructure has been added into ITSI as a default package. So your VMware monitoring, operating system monitoring, AWS, Kubernetes, all of them come under ITSI now. So you can enable your infrastructure monitoring, and there's a very tight integration with between infra monitoring and ITSI now. So all your KPIs, all your infra components, they are automatically linked and imported into ITSI without you doing anything. So a lot of times nowadays, what it is as advice is, or how you can mature your ITSI implementation is also by consolidating your infra monitoring. It is easy to do, it's automatic. So you just deploy this Splunk Linux TA or Windows TA or Kubernetes Connect, and your infra monitoring is ready. So once this is ready, it automatically imports your entities and services into ITSI. And I mean, your event analytics also become easy. All those multi KPI alerts and everything can be easily configured. So, and then you can go to service insights, which is a little bit more difficult and time consuming task to do. So this is a new way which came in, I think, this year or last year, of looking at ITSI as well. I wanted to include, since you're working on it, and if use cases come around it, you can go this way as well. Okay. So any questions on this? Any thoughts?
No, fine. As you said, like the new thought process, which means like inclusion of service insights. Is that right?
Yes.
Or should we look at service insight along with event analytics?
So if you are already here, because what happens sometimes is you can run these streams in parallel. Like if you do a service insight, you have to do service decomposition workshop first, then create the technologies, KPIs and services, and then you go there. So it takes longer. But if you implement Splunk app for infrastructure first, your infra monitoring comes automatically. And from infra monitoring, Splunk app for infra, the events directly go into episode review. So your event analytics is already there. And then you do service insights. So your ITSI is already being used even before you are doing your service decomposition or exercise. And your service desk teams or monitoring team can use it.
Okay. Okay.
So it's an easier and faster way of bringing value into ITSI. I don't know, for services, I have to go to each business process and service to talk to them.
Okay.
And it takes a little bit of time. You can prepare a template and share with them, but again, every service might be a little different. So you still need to talk and document whatever is being done and plan for it. But in infra monitoring, if you just deploy the Splunk agent, and if you deploy the Splunk connector for Linux or Windows or VMware, it brings in all information in one go. So it's a path you can take if you like.
Yeah, agree.
Okay. So this is that new thing that came in. So this is what we need. Coming to the technical part, this is the end goal which we need for your services. I propose mostly, or I make my own some templates across each technologies. Like this one example that I've taken, that a lot of these things are kind of shared. Everybody has a database, everybody has a middleware, everybody has some kind of web. So to form your own template or take something from Splunk, that what would be the core KPIs for each layer of infrastructure, and what would be the core KPI for each component of your applications, put them in template or a structure like these, and then modify it accordingly whenever it is needed by someone. That makes the process and adoption easier. And so I've defined some of these for my projects and my customers as well, that if you have a middleware service, infra is always there, but you always take in and out time. So how much time does it take to come into your component and go out of it? So response time is always important. If there was any error while you were doing it, or while your transfer was in your queue or in your application, in your component, we need all the errors. And we need the number of requests that came into your system and then went out from your system. So these three things you definitely need from each component that you have in your application and subsequent business services. So define those, and if you have some teams which are kind of SMEs, it's a good place to start. You talk to the middleware SMEs and understand what technologies they have and define those KPIs for those and put them as Splunk templates and just push them. That helps a lot in improving the adoption process of the ITSI in the company. Other than that, sorry.
If you could come back on the adoption methodology that you suggested, you meant to say every KPI will be part of a template and we need to push those templates?
You will have multiple templates. Like if I see on the screen, this is what I do. I have a template for web services. So if I have any web service which is coming from Apache, Nginx, or Tomcat, I have a template which needs to be deployed by default. So any application that has Apache, it gets deployed.
Okay, so will this be inbuilt or do we need to pull it from a CIM model, or do we need to have a external CIM, or do we need to configure CIM as part of data onboarding in our forwarder or indexer so that the clean data is sent to ITSI? So what is that you suggest here?
Sure. So what happens is if you can control that, if you can do that, well and good. But a lot of time that I've seen, that's not possible because people have already onboarded the data into Splunk in the format that they like. They not always follow the good practices and format. So we have to work on what people have brought in already in Splunk. And sometimes you can't influence it because people already have their dashboards and things working. So what I normally do is I do this cleanup or normalization in this Splunk ITSI app before putting data into ITSI.
Okay, so that will be part of, normalization activity that we need to engage at indexer level.
Yes, not really indexer on the search head level.
Yeah.
Because you already have. So let's say we look at one Apache logs and the Apache plugin. There is a plugin in modules in ITSI for Apache. If you go and look at the plugin and you deploy using that plugin, your logs doesn't match the plugin because the application team did their magic and put in whatever they want to put in the log. It's not the standard default Apache logs.
True.
When you deploy the plugin, it doesn't work.
True. I mean, we have seen like, for example, even if it is with MS IAS plugin add-on, when we try to use it, out of maybe I can say 10 to 20% of teams who are using IAS add-on, IAS servers, they normally write a custom logs to that IAS apart from the standard IAS pattern.
Yes. And all of them do it, and it's very difficult to tell them that, okay, no, don't do this, do it this way. This is what Splunk says. So you can't, I don't like doing that. So I said, okay, whatever you want to bring in, bring it that. Then you have to go into the ITSI module, look what fields you need, and based on that field, either you are able to identify on your own with your experience, or you ask them that, where do I find this data in your logs? And then based on their feedback, you build that layer on ITSI only, not in their application, because if you do it in their application, that it will break their dashboards as well. So if you do it in the indexing layer, it might break their dashboard. So this is my personal approach that I have taken, rather than I don't know what Splunk guys do. Do they break it? I don't know. But this is my personal approach, that I don't break their dashboards. By doing anything at the indexer level, let them make their dashboards as they make on their app level. But on the ITSI app level, I add this layer that before this data comes into ITSI, I do this normalization to bring it into exactly the field that ITSI requires.
Can you maybe after this in a working session, can you show us like how the staging happened? Because you said like you will pre-filter the data even before sending them to ITSI. So I wish to understand from a search head level, you just take the data, you clean it up, and then from searched you are pointing to ITSI. Is my understanding correct?
Not exactly. I think I'll show you when we'll
Yeah.
reach there. When I'll
Sure,
have a
sure.
system in front of me, I'll show it to you how I'm doing that.
Okay.
And other thing is you have to build a lot of these modules on your own because modules are not available for everything. So you'll have to pick up the technologies and fit them into the modules or make their own modules, especially for the newer technologies and storages and network. There's nothing for network, and network is an important part of it. So you have to build your own network for storage and network, unless because the module that Splunk has for storage is for EMC and just one more company. And a lot of people use HP storage. HP is why how things work in ITSI. So let's go. What kind of things we can do? So if you know, the first component or first thing that we look at is your glass table. And I'm sure you know how you can build those glass table. There are two types of glass table nowadays. One is the normal classic glass table that you see on the screen. Then there's a new beta glass table, which is much more like Canvas, if you know Canvas in the open source world. Yeah. And so that new glass table is there. The good thing about that glass table is that can be used in a Splunk dashboard and copy pasted into ITSI. So it's kind of easily used between both Splunk Enterprise as well as an ITSI. And it has some good features and some not so good features. We'll come to that when we'll come to building glass tables. But yeah, you have to have the glass table available now. Secret.
Yeah, that's the kind of a hack that we need to use.
Yeah. Okay. Then second thing is deep dive, which I mostly recommend for looking across different kind of things and KPIs and what something is happening in time to correlate them manually. It's not automatic correlation, definitely, but manually with the human eye, people are able to correlate when something went wrong. And this is one view that I mostly ask them to go down after you look at what is wrong. The service text team, when they look at, okay, this has gone wrong, now from there where to go, they normally go to this deep dive and look at the time and see where did something go wrong. It's not always very clear, but it's a good way of looking across different KPIs and services here, and not always using default ones. Mostly when you're doing it, customize and save them. So if you want somebody to drill down to something, create a deep dive for them the way you like. Don't leave it to the default. Create the deep dives, save the deep dives, and link those saved deep dives, not the default ones. That makes the job easier for people who are using it. So technically it just compares the performance over time in time. And one thing that a lot of people do is this compare feature in deep dive. When I saw people making these dashboards, they make one line in a dashboard showing this is my current number of transactions, and then they'll do a time wrap and make another line, this is my last week and this is my last month. So you have to build those things in a dashboard. But in this, when I showed them this feature that you can go to compare and compare whatever date, whatever month, whatever number you like here across your KPIs, it's very, very strong and powerful. So that's your deep dive. Then next is your service analyzer. It's called service analyzer. And then you see all the top 50 services and the KPIs here. Again, never leave. Sorry.
So if we go back to the previous slide where we are showing a comparative, and you said like even in our normal dashboard, we can use a time wrap. I mean, for example, if I do a time chart of comparing two variables, in order to show a performance factor, we can do a time wrapping command, which is available in Splunk to show how the performance is there over a specific period. Maybe I can pass the span of time and I can compare. But feature is normally available for user in Enterprise Edition also.
Yes, yes. You can put it on the dashboard. Normally, when you don't have ITSI and when people want to do it, you put up a dashboard with whatever parameters they want to see over time, whatever performance over time, and then you put the time wrap command after your time chart. On the top, if you can visualize it, on the top you say enter the time period that you want to compare for, let's say 1 day, 1 hour, 1 week. When they select that, say I want to compare with 1 week, when they select this 1 week, that parameter gets passed into the time chart. After time chart you use time wrap, after time wrap you say time wrap 1 week,
Yeah.
and then 1 week it will add one more line in the graph which will say 1 week ago.
Okay.
So a lot of times this is being used, and it is also being used to, this time wrap feature is also being used to compare, actually create thresholds. So how threshold is created is, you say that today my current utilization is 50%. What was my utilization yesterday? Whatever utilization. What was my utilization last week? Whatever utilization. And then average them out, create a number based on that, and then use it to create an alert.
Okay.
So yeah, I think this also uses time wrap somewhere in the background, because ITSI is completely built on Splunk and everything is a search in the background.
Okay.
So when this was not there, you can still do this by using enterprise.
Okay.
Okay. And one more thing here, maybe if you've seen, when something happens, you can click on that particular bar when something happens and drill down into the module dashboards or into the raw events kind of things. That is also one important feature here to link. When my storage is high normally, or when my CPU is high, I can click on that exactly point in CPU and you can drill down into the OS host dashboard, if you know OS host dashboard, exactly to the point where it happened, sorted to the time when it happened. So that's powerful for service desk teams when they are troubleshooting. They don't have to worry about these small things, going to a dashboard again, then selecting the time they want to look at, and then select the server and all those things. It gives you automatic drill down from here, which is very powerful for those not so technical teams when they use it.
Okay.
So service analyzer. So what I do is I keep the glass table views for the management guys, and you keep the service analyzer view for more of the operations guys. So their job is to look at this service analyzer, and everything should be near green. There should not be any reds here. If there's a red here, then they need to work on it and change it to at least yellow or green. This is kind of the process change that you need to bring in the organization, telling them, okay, you're not only looking at something when it is broken and a ticket is raised for or somebody complained, but you start looking at the causes and the symptoms when something goes wrong. So these KPIs and the screen, you sort it for the particular team. So if it is my storage team, sort it for storage services, you save it for them, and that is their default view. Now, whenever storage team looks at that any KPI or any of their service went wrong or went rent, they go and troubleshoot and fix it. And if they fix it, it never really causes impact to the application. So you have to tell them that start using this rather than alerting systems or wait for a ticket for it to happen. And it gives you a very good symptomatic and cause kind of relationships much earlier than actually it impacts it. And then you can clearly see actually in this that this KPI is impacting which service as well. So they know which application this belongs to, rather than just knowing that okay, my this server, my this storage is having a problem. Because a lot of times storage guys or network guys, or they do not know exactly which application this server belongs to unless they have a very awesome CMDB, which I'm sure not many organizations in this world have. So in when this nice CNDBs and things are missing, this makes them very powerful, and this gives them a lot of power to see that okay, this storage is impacting and this is impacting this business services, so I should be reacting faster there. it shows you on these small tiles. If you look at it, I think I can't show you here. Can I? No, I'll show you in the real one then when we look into it.
Over your left hand side, we can see a time frame. In that particular panel, I think just below the font IT Service Intelligence, there is a time picker.
Yeah, this one, right
Yeah,
side.
yeah.
Yeah. So this is the view for operations team from my perspective. Glass table is a view for management, guys. And so from here now there's a drill down, or there is what you call, there's a workflow. When you start troubleshooting, you have to follow a workflow, and you have to teach these workflow to the guys who would be using ITSI. So it becomes a responsibility of the person who's advocating ITSI or improving adoption to show them how to use it. Don't leave them to go around the whole application and figure out, but tell them, go this way, this would be the fastest way, and it will get you the result that you need quicker. So operations guys, tell them this view, you click on this this icon, and then okay, so this is a older snapshot. This has changed a little bit now, but what you see, and this is, you're basically I'll show you a real one. So
Yeah,
big
I can understand
a
that.
little bit over time. So normally from you, when you click on the service, you go into the KPIs for that particular service, and from KPIs you go into the entities for that particular service. So this is one view. So I know my database is having a problem. What KPIs I am monitoring in the database, I'll see all the KPIs here. And then for that KPI, is it only one server or is it more than one server? And from clicking on this server, like this MySQL 2, you actually go to the entity dashboard. So till this was, it was a service kind of a dashboard. Then you go into the entity dashboard, where you see, so here it's only showing you one service, but a lot of times one entity is being used by multiple services. So you'll actually see what all services have been impacted by this change in health of this particular service. And if there are more than one KPIs here, you will see all of them in one go. And third thing is these module dashboards. I was talking about these modules earlier. So they are around I think there are six or seven modules. So these are pre-built modules, and if your entity belongs to any of these modules, they come here and they list down here. They're only showing you OS, but they are modules for databases, web servers, application servers, storage, and others. And all of them get listed here. And when you click on these modules, it takes you to the, do I have it here? Okay, I don't have it here. I'll show you in the real one. It takes you to the module dashboard. So you have a dashboard for OS, database, app, web, all of those together. And that is where the last page mostly is, where the team is able to identify exactly what happened. Like in case of OS, they would be able to see the exact file system which had caused the problem. So this workflow coming from high level to this level, it's very strong, and it gives a lot of this visibility to the teams to understand where to work on. So whenever you show this, or whenever you talk to operations people, you always show them on how to navigate these workflows so that they reach the right place rather than roaming around ITSI. Any questions on this?
Yeah, I mean, maybe something out of the box question. I mean, this holds good for a standard environment when we try to onboard a infrastructure log where we are very sure or certain about the KPIs and metrics that we want to monitor, and for which there is a module which we have pre-built. What if in case if it is an application log where the KPIs are custom built and which keep on changes with reference to time over a period of time? So for that, do you suggest go with this kind of a module way so that when we just drill down, it reaches to this entities, and from entities will or is there a possibility for us to establish a workflow for that?
Right. So for application KPIs, there are two ways where you can go. One way is, and the difficult way is building these modules. So Like you have this OS host details, you can have another one called application details. So, but that is going to be custom. You'll have to build that custom module and link that module here. If it is your custom build application in-house, not the technology ones, but pure application or business logs. So you can definitely do that. That's possible. You need some changes to be done, but you can do that definitely. And second way is for those kind of KPIs, I don't send them to this view. I send them to a dashboard, which will have only application KPIs. I mean, if you go to this here, if I'm looking at here, and if I have a technical KPI like database and everything, I'll send them to a module. But if there is something like online store successful transaction, there is nothing more here, right? What more will you see in this? You can look at the servers here. So for those, you can add what you call a lane overlay for different servers where you're getting these transactions. And then you can go to the raw logs, or you can link them to an application dashboard if they need to know more about the application. But it doesn't go to a module dashboard mostly.
Okay. I mean, my question was something similar to this